It is now my great pleasure to give to Frances Hesselbein the ILA Lifetime Achievement Award in gratitude for her tremendous work in advancing the field of leadership. So, Frances Hesselbein, will you please step forward? Much of your work will live on in your research and in the articles and in the chapters and in the books and in all of the speaking engagements you have done around the world. And for that, we present to you a plate in honor of all of the work that you have done. But there is something much more that you have given, and that is of yourself and to all the people who you have given to in terms of conversations, in the relationships that you have had, in the moments of conversations, the lives that you have touched. And so on behalf of that, we want to also present to you the testimonials that people have written about how important you are in their lives. And so on behalf of the ILA, we present to you the plate for the International Leadership Association's Lifetime Achievement Award and the testimonials of the people whose lives you have touched. Your legacy will live on for many, many, many years, and you will continue to touch the lives of many for many, many more years. The ILA will proudly display your portrait at the James Academy of Leadership at the University of Maryland. And in addition, there will be an ILA virtual wall of fame that will include a dedicated website to you and all the work that you have done, along with our other legacy recipients. So on this 15th day of November, 2008, as the president of the International Leadership Association, I formally induct you into the ILA Leadership Legacy Program.
When I was in the 7th grade, I knew that I would write poetry for the rest of my life. By the time I was 17 and a freshman at Pitt, I knew I would write for the theater for the rest of my life, and I would never, ever leave the mountains of western Pennsylvania, where my ancestors, my family, had lived since before the American Revolution. Obviously, I know nothing about career planning. For 68 countries later, I have spoken or represented the United States since 1976. And I think, like you, when destiny calls, we go. I stand before you this morning, and I am not alone. As I have accepted this great honor, there are 4 great moral and intellectual heroes who are standing here with me. 2 are here in spirit, yet the powerful influence of Peter Drucker and John W. Gardner upon my life and my work are with me wherever I go, whatever I do, every day of my life. And they were there in the beginning of a legacy. Now, the 3rd great moral and intellectual giant in this present world of learning and service was with us this week. And every day I'm grateful for the support and the inspiring model of how we live and why we work, and to serve is to live. Warren Bennis. I carry with me their generosity. I carry with me their messages in my heart. I met Peter Drucker in 1981, quite by accident. By then, the Girl Scouts, those remarkable people, had transformed the organization. And I was invited to a breakfast by John Bradamus, Chancellor of New York University, to hear Peter Drucker speak. Now, I had every book Peter Drucker ever wrote. I had, from 1970, my first job as CEO of Tallis Rock Girl Scout Council, Johnstown, Pennsylvania. The day I walked in the door, I had under my arm the effective executive for every member of the staff. But I knew that I would never meet Peter Drucker. But here I was. I could have 5:30 reception and then dinner, and 50 of us would hear Peter Drucker speak. Now, I knew in that crowd I would never meet him, but at least I could hear him speak. Now, if you grew up in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, 5:30 is 5:30. So I get to the University Club and I walk in. In the reception room, I am alone with 2 bartenders. And I turn around and there is a man behind me. Obviously, if you grow up in Vienna, 5:30 is 5:30, and he said, "I am Peter Drucker." I was so stunned, I forgot my manners. Instead of saying, "How do you do?" I said, "Do you realize how important you are to the Girl Scouts?" He said, "No, tell me." I said, "You go to any one of our 335 Girl Scout councils, you'll see a whole shelf of your books. You open our new corporate management planning system, all the monographs, you will see your philosophy." He said, "You are very daring. I would be afraid to do that. Tell me, does it work?" So I said, "It works so wonderfully that I have been trying to get up enough courage to call you, say, 'May I come to Claremont? May I have 1 hour of your time? And I would like to lay out before you all the things you say must be in place for the effective organization. We have them all in place. I would like to lay them out before you and then talk with you about how do we take the lead in this society and blast right into the future.'" He said, "Well, why should both of us travel? I will be in New York." He gave me the date. "I will give you a day of my time." Well, then John Bradamus and his entourage arrived and swept him away, and I looked at my watch. I said, "In 4.5 minutes, I have met Peter Drucker, and I have a day of his time." The first day with Peter Drucker, and from then on, for the next 8 years, 2 or 3 days, every year, he wrote about us and talked about us, and he was our best friend. And that morning, he walks in, and the board and about 100 staff members were all waiting, and I think they thought, because of his writing and what he had said about us, he was going to say, "You're doing very well, you're wonderful." No. After thanking us for permitting him to be there, he looked at us and said, "You do not see yourselves life-size. You do not appreciate the significance of the work you do, for we live in a society that pretends to care about its children, and it does not. And for a little while, you give a girl a chance to be a girl in a society that forces her to grow up all too soon." I called, 6 weeks after I left the Girl Scouts, January 31st, 1990, I found myself the president of the Peter Drucker Foundation based in New York. And until he became ill, he attended every board member meeting. And we were inspired when he was there, when he was not there. And in 2005, before Peter died, I called him and said, in 1981, you said to the Girl Scouts, we live in a society that pretends to care about its children, and it does not. Do you still feel the same way? Long, long silence. Then a sad voice. Francis, has anything changed? You and I know the answer to that. And every day of my life, I am grateful for the inspiration of the great father of modern management. Then there was John W. Gardner, devoted friend and supporter of the Girl Scouts, then Drucker Foundation and Leaders Leader. John Gardner, who helped us mobilize the sector to action when he challenged us. And he spoke, and I keep this close to me. He said, I keep running into highly capable people all over this country who literally never give a thought to the well-being of the community. And I keep wondering who gave them permission to stand aside. I want you to give them a bugle call right in the ear and tell them that this society could die of comfortable indifference to the problems that only citizens can solve. Comfortable indifference travels with me. Warren Bennett is with us, and we are grateful he is with us in this world, and with me, his wisdom travels wherever I go. When I was with the Girl Scouts, Warren wrote this wonderfully successful book on becoming a leader. I think it's in his 4th or 6th iteration. And it was so successful that his publisher said, let's pull 3 leaders out of the book and make a videotape called The Leader Within. So he pulled out General Palmer, Commandant of the Cadets at West Point, Max Dupree, Chairman of Herman Miller, and Francis, CEO of the Girl Scouts. It seemed to me a strange mix. When they shot the films, we never met each other. We were shot separately, and I kept thinking, what do Cadets at West Point and office furniture and this brownie troupe in South Central Los Angeles in a park, what in the world do they have in common? Well, when the film was finished, it was about 3 parallel lives, and he began with our childhood right through, and toward the end, Warren looks into the camera and says, these 3 people never started out to become leaders. They began by expressing themselves in their work, and along the way, they became leaders. Well, I carry this around with me, and sometimes on university campuses, a student will say, well, I know I'm going to be a leader, but how will I know when I get there? And I say, well, leadership is a journey. It's not a destination. And I quote Warren Bennett, as alive today as the day he said it. You express yourself in your work, and along the way, you become a leader. Now for the fourth. If you've wondered about that bright spirit that has been hovering over my head this morning, it's my grandmother, Sadie Pringle Wicks, who instilled into me the values I try to live. And it was she who taught me love and respect for all people when I was 8 years old. And of all the people I've ever known, she has had the greatest impact upon my life and my work. So may I accept this honor, one of the greatest honors I could ever receive in my lifetime. May I accept it and include in my acceptance the legacy of 4 lives that shine a light wherever I go, who taught me through their example to serve is to live. I thank you from my heart, and together may we keep the faith. Thank you.